Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We've got a lot of major updates to unpack today, and trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. There's been a major shakeup in the much talked about $2,000 stimulus plan, a new proposal in the Senate to raise Social Security payments by $200 a month, and a shocking update surrounding the Charlie Kirk case that's raising serious questions. There's a lot happening in Washington and across the country, and all of it connects to one thing: how everyday Americans, especially seniors and those living on fixed incomes, are struggling to survive while prices keep climbing and relief feels further out of reach. Before we dive deeper, let me take a second to introduce my channel. You're watching Truth Lens, the place where we look past the headlines and political noise to get to the heart of what's really going on. Here on Truth Lens, we focus on issues that impact real Americans, those who've worked hard their entire lives, paid into the system, and now depend on Social Security or veterans benefits just to keep the lights on. So many seniors in America today are watching their savings disappear faster than ever before, whether it's groceries, rent, or healthcare. It feels like the dollar just doesn't stretch anymore. And for many who thought their retirement years would bring peace and dignity, these times have brought nothing but anxiety and sacrifice. Let's start with what's happening in the Senate. Lawmakers have introduced a Social Security Emergency Relief Act, which proposes a $200 monthly boost to Social Security and veterans benefits through July 2026. The push comes as part of a growing acknowledgement in Washington that inflation has hit seniors harder than anyone else. Imagine working for 35 or 40 years, paying into Social Security every paycheck, and finally retiring only to find that the check you receive barely covers rent and medication. It's heartbreaking, and unfortunately, it's the reality for millions of Americans today. The average Social Security benefit sits around $1,900 a month, but many receive far less. Take a moment to think about someone like Elaine, a widow from Michigan who spent 38 years as a school bus driver. She gets $876 a month after deductions. That's not enough to live on. Not when rent, even for a small apartment, costs more than double that in many cities. Elaine says she often skips meals to make sure she can pay her utility bill, and she's not alone. Seniors across the country are making impossible choices between food and medicine, between heat and rent, between survival and dignity. That's why this Senate proposal is gaining traction. It's not just a financial issue, it's a moral issue. Seniors should not be forced into poverty after a lifetime of work. Inflation has made it harder for retirees to get by. And the average COLA increase of about $56 this year doesn't even come close to covering the real rise in living costs. Gas, groceries, insurance premiums, everything is more expensive. And that small cost of living adjustment simply isn't keeping pace. The situation becomes even more frustrating when you hear about how much the U.S. government continues to send abroad. Billions of dollars in foreign aid are being handed out while American seniors are struggling to feed themselves. During a recent press briefing, a White House official was questioned about a $20 billion bailout of Argentina, and the justification was that it would strengthen alliances and stabilize markets. But here at home, the markets that truly matter are kitchen tables in homes where seniors are eating one meal a day because Social Security doesn't stretch far enough. The White House responded to news of the Social Security Emergency Relief Act by saying, President Trump will always protect and strengthen Social Security, pointing to previous legislation that eliminated taxes on Social Security benefits for most recipients. Still, that doesn't change the fact that seniors are hurting right now. Medical insurance costs continue to skyrocket, and many Americans between the ages of 60 and 64 who aren't yet eligible for Medicare are paying anywhere from $700 to $2,000 per month for private insurance coverage. Those numbers are staggering, especially when compared to the limited income that Social Security provides. Now, here's where things get even more complex. The same tariffs that the government claims have strengthened America's economy are also being blamed for increasing prices on everyday goods. When asked whether Americans are effectively paying for those tariffs, President Trump said that the overall impact is a gain, emphasizing national security and economic independence. But the truth is, those tariffs have raised costs on imported items from food and electronics to cars and household goods. And now the administration is reportedly planning to return a portion of that tariff revenue in the form of a $2,000 stimulus dividend. According to officials, this so-called tariff dividend check would be aimed at middle and lower income Americans with the goal of offsetting the purchasing power lost over the past few years. Essentially, the government admits that inflation and tariffs hit American consumers hard, and these checks would be a way of reimbursing citizens for those losses. The administration claims that trillions have been brought in through tariffs and related investment income, and that some of this money could be redistributed as direct checks. However, the legality of these tariffs is still being debated in the Supreme Court, which means no checks can be issued until the court delivers its ruling. Economists and analysts are divided on when or even if these payments will arrive. Even with congressional approval, the process of determining eligibility, funding, and distribution could take months. Most projections suggest that if the plan goes through, Americans may not see those checks until mid-2026. For seniors, that's an eternity to wait. Every month without help is another month of going without something essential. Meanwhile, stories continue to pour in about seniors turning to SNAP benefits, food stamps, just to survive. These are individuals who did everything right, worked, saved, and planned for retirement, but were blindsided by the skyrocketing cost of living. Many feel betrayed by a system that once promised security and stability in their golden years. The heartbreaking reality is that millions of older Americans are now dependent on government food programs or charity food banks to make it through the month. Amid all this financial chaos, the nation was also shaken by developments in the Charlie Kirk case, which has sparked widespread public outrage. Just days after Kirk's assassination, the university where it happened began renovation work in the very courtyard where the crime took place. Text messages obtained through a records request revealed that construction crews were contacted as early as 3 days after the incident, with some messages noting that the workers were well trained in keeping quiet. This raised serious questions about why the cleanup was rushed and who authorized it before the investigation was complete. Contractors admitted that they were called in on a Sunday to beautify the area, even though it was an active crime scene. Now, the official explanation is that the renovation had been previously scheduled, but the timing, the secrecy, and the coordination behind it have left many Americans deeply skeptical. For those who value transparency and truth, the idea that evidence might have been destroyed or tampered with is deeply troubling. This entire chain of events, from the economic strain on seniors to the confusion surrounding stimulus payments and now the questions of transparency in a national case, highlights one major issue. Americans are losing trust in the systems that are supposed to protect and support them. Seniors in particular feel forgotten. They're the backbone of this country, yet they're often treated like an afterthought in national policy discussions. As of now, the proposed Social Security Emergency Relief Act remains on the table, but it faces a long road ahead. And while the $2,000 stimulus dividend is being discussed as a form of economic payback for the effects of tariffs and inflation, nothing is certain until the legal and legislative hurdles are cleared. The one constant in all of this, however, is the daily struggle faced by millions of older Americans who can't afford another delay. Here on Truth Lens, we'll continue breaking down these stories so you can see through the spin and understand how these decisions actually affect your life, whether it's the promise of extra Social Security money, the delay of stimulus checks, or the unsettling details of national events. The truth matters, and the people deserve to know it. For seniors living on Social Security, these updates aren't just news, they're survival. And until the government delivers a real relief, the fight to protect America's retirees will continue one story at a time.